DCSL Corporate Services Limited hosted its 7th annual Company Secretaries Roundtable with the theme, the Company Secretary Corporate Governance Influencer. Ms. Anne Agbo, Head Company Secretarial Unit, DCSL Corporate Services Limited, in the welcome remarks applauded the gender balance at the roundtable event.
The theme of this year's roundtable is the Company Secretary as a corporate governance influencer. To help us do some justice to this theme this year, we have put together a brilliant panel of subject matter experts and professionals who are excellent experts in their own right. So I believe very strongly that we're going to have a very rich discussion today. I have in the room a lot of us who have attended one or two of the previous roundtables, and I'm very excited to note that we have quite a number of new faces in the room. So for the newcomers, welcome to the roundtable. I'd like to make an observation. I don't know if any of us has noticed that we're not doing very badly in terms of gender diversity today.
In her keynote address, Mrs. Cecilia Akintomide, OON, the Independent Non-Executive Director, FBN Holdings PLC, described the company secretary as an important pillar of the corporate board and organization that should serve as an influencer. Also, the company secretary, following the Karma Bill and Nigeria Code of Corporate Governance 2018.
You go into a boardroom, there's a board meeting, and let's say the meeting is for 2 to 3 hours, and everybody is passionately speaking, they're engaged, but there's one person in the room who for most of that 2 to 3 hours is silent and is writing fast and furiously or typing fast and furiously. But at the same time, they are so keenly looking around the room. It's nearly as if they're taking photographs or they're filming with their eyes. And that person that is doing that is your corporate secretary. Usually very quiet in the boardroom, but yet is a pillar of everything that's going on in the boardroom. That mostly silent person in the room, the corporate secretary, is what you can refer to as the faithful pillar of every corporate board and every organization. We all know what happens when a pillar is weak or when a pillar crumbles. The whole house calms down with that pillar. And that's the same thing that happens when a corporate secretary is no longer firm or fully playing their role. They are like a weak pillar, and that house will surely come down. The corporate secretary is a mandatory role. CAMA in Section 293 provides that every company shall have a secretary. The Act proceeds to enumerate the duties of the secretary in Section 298. Now, the duties outlined in CAMA are basically administrative, very secretarial.
The professor of corporate law and governance and IT, Igbinedion University, Nathaniel Offo, in his presentation on building a balanced board, thoughts on the challenges to board diversity, addressed aspects of diversity and the key factors for building a balanced board in corporations.
Everybody is now hooked on smartphones. And now with cryptocurrency, your fiat money will become useless. You have money that you cannot feel, that you can pass around through your phone. Businesses are becoming digital. They are now online. Even the format for training will change. It will change. The educational system that we have now is broken. For those who are thinking it's broken, it's not fitting the purpose anymore. So when technology hits us real good, a lot of things will change, and the boardroom would not be exempted. Most of ensuring diversity basically is either through statutes or through regulation. Some countries try to impose quota like Norway, but in Nigeria, we have tried to use the statute. And that is why in the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance 2018, it has a lot of provisions concerning stressing on diversity in the area of board compositions. Those are the sections. Talked about that in composing the board, care must be taken to ensure that there is diversity. In appointing directors, you should ensure that you take diversity into account. Even in board evaluation, director's evaluation, you must take account of diversity. And in the disclosures that companies are required to make, corporate governance disclosure in their corporate governance report, they must disclose the extent to which the company is observing diversity. That is the importance that is stressed on diversity in Nigeria. And it is a global thing, so it's not just a Nigerian thing. Just that in the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance, there is a lot of stress on it, and the different sections for the different areas that I have mentioned are provided. Diversity is very important, it is key, and no company can do without it. And it is key for several reasons. One is that a diverse board is more receptive and open to innovation and creativity in solving problems. It also makes for the acquisition of talents, because you now want to bring in the different knowledge that is available. And when you have a diverse board, you are more likely to have those people who represent the community that the company is serving. And therefore, you understand them better and can adequately provide for them.
Speaking on the topic, conflict of interest on the board, what role for the company secretary? Dr. Nechi Ezeako, Executive Director and CEO, Institute of Directors, IOD Center for Corporate Governance, highlighted the types of conflicts and structures that should be put in place by company secretaries to resolve conflicts of interest issues.
Conflict of interest, what is it? So we've been talking about what it is. It's a simple, very old concept. However, the issues can be quite complex, quite complex. And so you may find that oftentimes board members are struggling with it. Sometimes conflicts might be actual. Sometimes it might be potential. There's a possibility or a potential to be conflict. But again, it could be just perceived. I keep telling people that it's a matter of time. If your organization is not practicing good corporate governance and you're just sitting down and watching it, it's a matter of time. It's going to come down on your head. It's a matter of, it's guaranteed. To frame a conflict of interest policy is not a simple matter. And you don't have to do it personally. I'm sure that organizations like DCSL, indeed IOD Center for Corporate Governance is one of the services that we render, helping you develop a proper corporate conflict of interest policy, which should be clear on what constitutes conflict of interest. So there should be clear definitions of actual, of potential, of perceived conflicts of interest situations, as well as the procedures for addressing each of them. Okay? Then in drafting the policy, the company secretary creates clarity and ensures that everyone in the organization, from directors to staff, knows exactly what it means. Disclosure of potential conflicts of interest as well should be well provided for in the document. as soon as they arise. This is key and should be covered by the policy. Of course, recommended actions where they are needed is also very important, and there should be clear penalty for non-disclosure. Not that today, if it's Mr. A who didn't disclose, I will all say, crucify him, and then tomorrow if it's Mr. B that didn't disclose, we overlook it. No, there has to be consistency across the organization. Policy to state the procedure for disclosure. Usually disclosure is made in writing to the board through the company secretary. So there again is the role of the company secretary, and of course the company secretary that should bring it to the attention of the board. So stage 1, a board member identifies that they have a conflict of interest. The conflicted board member notifies the board of their conflict. The remaining board members, those who don't have that conflict, make a determination on the appropriate remedial action, and then the remaining board members inform the board member who is conflicted of the outcome in terms of their decision.
Mr. Ore Olajide, the company secretary and legal advisor, 9 Mobile, gave insight into the creative and innovative ways that company secretaries can support brands, managing meetings and information flow.
We all believe managing meetings is only theoretical. We believe in the hardcore skills. What we have been told and taught, either in the law school or Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators. What do? Before the meeting, we have our to-do. During the meeting, we have our to-do. After the meeting, we have our to-do. But managing meetings in supporting the boards goes far beyond that as company secretary. Board meetings and board committee meetings. I'm not talking about EGMs, AGMs, but those ones too are crucial because you as company secretary prepare the board, and you prepare the board through the documents, information, and everything that you get from management. But we are limiting it to board meetings and board committee meetings. Choosing venue. We know all those ones. Notice of meeting. The agenda on the notice of meetings. Time of the meeting. Preparing the venue. Name tags on the table. Name tags on the table as simple as it is. When you put a board member where they don't want to see it or is filming, you know, the keynote speaker said we must be able to smell and spot body language. When you are looking very well and your eyes are sharp, when you see a board member pass another board member without exchanging pleasantries, and their name tags are together, before they get there, if one is speaking to another person, you better change it. These are crucial and important things. Before the meeting, board packs, documents and information. Setting a target for yourself as to when do you do a cutoff when you are yet to receive information from management. My cutoff is 5 days before any board meeting. If you don't give me your documents 5 days before board meeting, I send out my notice, agenda, and document. I will not take it. Except it's important, and I discuss with the chairman, and the chairman says, I can take it. That's when I take it. So they must know you. You are an influencer. You must move even from the level of influencing. You must become a brand ambassador. You must become a catalyst. You must become a system leader, a go-to person.
Mr. Paul Kilonzi, Channel Manager, Software Technologies Limited, in his presentation on deploying technology to improve board effectiveness, demonstrated how technology can be leveraged by company secretary in ensuring effectiveness in their respective corporations.
How do you make your directors collaborate without even having you sitting there, but you have what you call back channels, which you can always use to talk to your directors on the soft skills. So how, again, can you be broad enough to be able to talk to your directors without having conflict of interest appearing or inferred, or I remember there were three. But the most important thing is that to make a company secretary effective is to release them from the normal, what you call day-to-day things, for them to focus on being able to take your directors for lunch, being able to have a back-to-back agreement or discussion with the chairman, also be able to sit down with the CEO and the likes. So we want to give you a tool which will help you to release the shackles. Directors travel a lot. They might be in-country or what I call out-country. But if they have internet, they can download their board packs. But also, they can actually put them offline. Offline doesn't mean it is in this iPad. It's just within the system, in that briefcase, just like they used to carry a briefcase. They can access it if they're flying, if there's somewhere there's no internet. At any time of the day, they can open their board pack and start reading. Does that make sense? It's an extension of having the information, but not, you don't want to be domiciled or very reliant on internet. So we create a briefcase for them to travel with.
Mr. Ibrahim Alagbe, Company Secretary of DCSL, also gave his perspective on the event and the impact on companies in Nigeria.
We've been doing this Company Secretaries Roundtable. This is a 7th edition, and the essence of it is to ensure that company secretaries come around to talk about their experiences and also share from people that have experience in terms of the company secretaries that have been doing it for several years. So they're able to learn from that. And we believe that having this roundtable will allow every one of them to learn and also to be able to impact wherever they are on their respective boards.
Also, Gbemini Ishoda, the company secretary and legal advisor, shared her key takeaways from the event.
First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to DCSL, for organizing this event and also for inviting me. I would say that this event was more like a reminder, of my role as a company secretary to reinforce, some of the things I had known. And then I would say that the sessions were quite practical, bringing into bear what happens, in reality, as opposed to, what you read or what, you learn academically. It was quite interactive. I would say, one of my largest takeaway will be what, Dr. Nichi said is we need to start taking action. We need to start putting into place what we know, what we've learned, just to generally reinforce all the corporate governance practices that we've learned over the years and how we can, infuse them into our day-to-day work, our role as company secretaries, reminding us that we are indeed the gatekeepers of corporate governance in our organization.
From the roundtable, it is clear that company secretaries will, to a great extent, play a key role in driving corporate governance across corporations in the country that will position Nigeria as an attractive spot for investments.